Welcome to our tutorial on dynamic component loading in Angular. We begin with importing the necessary modules. Component, onInit, and ViewChild are decorators from Angular core that help define the metadata for our component. ViewContainerRef is a reference to a container within the view where we can dynamically insert other components. Lastly, Component Factory Resolver is a service that can construct a component factory for a given component type, which we'll use to create instances of components dynamically. Here we have the @component decorator that defines the metadata for our dynamic component loader component. We specify a selector that will be used to insert this component in our HTML. The template contains an ing template element with a local variable dynamic component container, which acts as an anchor point where we can inject our dynamic components. In the class definition, we implement the onInit interface, which requires us to define an ng-onInit method. Using the ViewChild decorator, we get a reference to the ing template element in our components template. We specifically tell Angular to give us the ViewContainerRef by passing it in the read property. This container serves as a placeholder to insert our dynamic components. Inside our constructor, we inject an instance of the Component Factory Resolver. This will be used to create a component factory for any component we want to load dynamically. The ng-onInit method is part of the onInit lifecycle hook and is called after Angular first displays the data-bound properties, but for our purposes, it's just an empty hook. Now, let's focus on the load component method. This method is asynchronous, which allows us to use the await keyword inside it. The first step when attempting to load a new component is to clear the container of any previous components, ensuring a clean slate for our operation. Next, we use the dynamic import syntax combined with a template literal to import the component we want to dynamically load. This syntax is crucial as it instructs Webpack, or the module bundler you are using, to split off these components into separate chunks and only load them when needed. Then, we use our Component Factory Resolver to create a component factory for the imported component. The component factory is an object that knows how to create a component. Finally, we call createComponent on our container, passing the factory, which creates and inserts an instance of our dynamic component into the container. The onLoadComponent method is straightforward. Its sole job is to clear the container, which removes the dynamically loaded component from the view. This is a critical step to free up resources, especially on memory-constrained devices like mobile phones.